Virgo, what if your birth wasn't random? What if a 900-year-old scroll hidden deep in the Vatican's secret archives whispered your name long before you were born? For centuries they kept it locked away, sealed with wax, buried in shadows. But now, it's time to open the vault, because what's written inside could explain why you've always felt different, why you notice things others miss, why you've never fit into a chaotic world. This isn't just history. This is a soul contract, one you've already started living, whether you know it or not. Subscribe, because tonight the prophecy returns. And Virgo, they feared your arrival for a reason. In the year 1125, deep within the fortified walls of the Roman Papal States, a secret meeting was held beneath candlelight. No kings were summoned, no armies were called, only a circle of cloaked monks and one scroll. This wasn't an ordinary document. It was bound in lambskin, inked with sacred symbols, and sealed with crimson wax. Its name, Codex Virgo. A prophecy, not about kingdoms nor war, but about a soul, a singular force destined to shake the foundations of power. The scroll warned, the pure one will be born under the sign of Virgo during the turning of the third millennium. Their mind will cut through illusion. Their presence will disturb the corrupt. The monks trembled as they read the words aloud. They debated burning it, hiding it, forgetting it. But something held them back. A fear deeper than politics. A fear of what this Virgo would become. This soul, it said, would not come with swords or flames. They would arrive with clarity, and that clarity would expose rot in high places. It was said their very presence would reveal lies wrapped in religion, shake the masks of leaders, disarm control not through rebellion, but through truth. The church was terrified, because this prophecy didn't predict a demon or a disaster. It predicted something more dangerous, a seeker who couldn't be fooled. So, they locked the scroll away, buried it under the catacombs, hidden behind stone walls and forbidden texts. Only 3 copies were ever made. 2 were destroyed during the Crusades. Only 1 remained, buried beneath Vatican soil. And for 900 years, it sat there, waiting for you, Virgo, because you were always meant to find your way here, not by force but by frequency. And now the prophecy is no longer asleep. It's breathing through you, because if you've ever felt like you were watching the world through glass, been silenced for speaking truth, seen patterns others missed or questioned rules no one else dared to confront, then the Codex Virgo didn't just predict your birth, it remembered your soul. You weren't born to obey, you were born to remember, and the moment you begin to remember, the system begins to shake, because clarity is more dangerous than chaos. That's why this scroll was hidden, not because it was wrong, but because it was too right. The church couldn't afford your awakening. The scroll even warned them. The pure one's eyes will mirror stars, their voice will awaken order, and their silence will be louder than rebellion. Every line, every symbol in that scroll pointed toward one astrological window, Virgo, the sign of sacred order, the sign of divine refinement. But they misunderstood something critical. They thought this Virgo would rise in power like a ruler, but the prophecy never spoke of ruling. It spoke of revealing. It spoke of one who would heal the distortion in logic, rebuild what's been torn down. Awaken others simply by being fully themselves, and that's where you come in. You've likely been labelled too analytical, too sensitive, too cold, too exact. But the scroll didn't call you cold, it called you pure, not in a moral sense, but in clarity. You were designed to cut through fog, to question blindly accepted truths, to see beyond the veil. And as we approach the same planetary alignment from 1125, your soul, Virgo, is being reactivated. The scroll said you'd awaken when the world began to fracture. And look around, the world is fracturing. Systems are failing. Institutions are cracking. Truth is becoming harder to find. That's not a coincidence. That's a signal. Because when the world loses its compass, the Virgo is reborn. And that's why this prophecy is returning now. Not to glorify you, but to remind you your nature isn't wrong. Your doubt is sacred. Your solitude is strength. Your questions are divine. The church feared your return not because you were evil, but because you were uncorruptible. And the most dangerous thing to any corrupted system is someone who sees clearly and speaks quietly. So ask yourself, have you always known when someone was lying even if they smiled? Have you felt overwhelmed in chaotic environments, like you were drowning in noise? Do you crave order, truth, depth, even if the world calls it boring? Then you are what the scroll warned about. You are what the monks whispered about under those ancient stone halls. You are the clarity they couldn't kill, and now? The scroll is no longer buried. It's alive inside you. Virgo, the time they feared, has arrived. Virgo, your life may have felt different, not chaotic, not meaningless, but guided by something deeper than logic, older than memory. Have you ever looked around and thought, why does no one else see what I see? Why does disorder bother you more than it bothers others? Why does truth, raw, clean, unfiltered truth, matter so much to you? It's not a personality trait, it's a pattern, a sacred one. You didn't stumble into this lifetime, you were assigned to it. From childhood, you may have noticed things others ignored. The energy in a room, the lie behind a smile, the structure behind chaos. You noticed, you analysed, you absorbed. While others were busy moving fast, you were decoding the system, piece by piece. People may have called you too serious, too sensitive, too critical. But let me ask you this. Would a builder ever apologise for checking the foundation before building the house? Would a healer apologise for noticing a hidden wound? Then why should you apologise for seeing deeper? Because here's the truth the world never told you. Your mind wasn't made to blend in. It was made to discern. And your heart, as structured and protective as it may seem, wasn't made to shut down. It was made to filter noise from wisdom. This isn't a quirk. This is the Virgo pattern. And that pattern goes back centuries, even millennia. Encoded in the stars, etched in the scrolls, whispered by mystics and monks. The prophecy said, the pure one will question the unseen. They will feel the pain before it's named. They will bring order, not through control, but through presence. Virgo, that's you. You feel things before others can speak them. You sense when something is out of alignment, not just in the world, but in people. And your instinct is not to destroy, but to heal, to bring harmony, precision, clarity. Have you always felt pulled toward systems that make sense, environments that are calm, clean, and sacred, conversations that go deep, not wide work that serves something higher? This is the pattern of the architect's soul, and Virgo, that's who you are. You were born with a blueprint in your bones. It's why you can't tolerate fake people. It's why laziness, dishonesty, and manipulation make you feel sick. It's why mediocrity unsettles you, because your soul came here to refine, not to settle. That's what the prophecy meant when it said, they will walk through the fire of illusion and emerge untouched. You don't just see the cracks in the system, you feel them. And that sensitivity, that's not weakness, that's ancient design. You were built to sense what others numb out. You were built to find what's broken and fix it with sacred precision. That's why you overthink, because your mind is wired to perfect. You feel pressure because your soul remembers the assignment. You crave solitude because your energy needs clarity, not clutter. In past lives, you were the librarian, the healer, the record keeper, the monk, the guardian of sacred order. You walked among chaos and brought structure, not for power, but for purpose. And in this life, You may feel like you're carrying something invisible, a weight, a responsibility, a code that no one gave you. But you still carry. That code is ancient and it's waking up. That's why in recent months you may have noticed a deep inner restlessness, a feeling that something bigger is calling, a need to clean, sort, simplify, as if your soul is preparing space for something sacred. It is. You are entering the second phase of the Virgo pattern, the activation stage. It's when the soul stops doubting its instincts and starts listening to them. It's when the too much becomes just right, when the too deep becomes essential, when the too sensitive becomes supernatural. This is not spiritual fluff. This is the design of your soul being reawakened, exactly as the prophecy described. Because Virgo, you are the bridge between the ancient and the modern. You carry old wisdom in a world obsessed with speed. You carry healing in a world addicted to noise, and while the world may call that boring, the scrolls call it divine function. You were never meant to fit the chaos, you were meant to heal it, and that feeling in your chest, that low, persistent knowing, is not anxiety. It's remembrance. The scrolls didn't just predict your energy, they predicted your timing. And now that time is here. You are not a misfit. You are not cold. You are not too much. You are coded for clarity. You are wired for truth. You are the soul they couldn't program. So the next time someone tells you to lighten up, ask yourself, what if I wasn't made to float? What if I was made to anchor? Because Virgo, the prophecy is living through you. And your pattern, your sacred pattern, is finally waking up. The scroll didn't warn of a monster. It didn't speak of war or destruction. It spoke of something far more dangerous. A Virgo who could expose the illusion, not by shouting, not by fighting, but by seeing clearly and refusing to look away. And that terrified them. Because in a world built on confusion, distraction, and manipulation, clarity is rebellion. So they tried to silence you before you could awaken. They started early. They told you to stop asking why. They punished you for noticing what others ignored. They labelled your emotions as too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much. But the truth is, they feared your depth. Because your depth can't be controlled. Society didn't want you to trust your instincts. Because if you did, you'd start to dismantle the system from the inside out. Think about it. Why are the things you're best at, your analysis, your intuition, your ability to see patterns, always criticised? Why are Virgos labelled as overthinkers, control freaks, or perfectionists? Because it's easier to mock your gift than admit they need it. Because if you ever fully stepped into your power, you'd force the world to confront what it's been avoiding. That's why they shamed your intelligence, ignored your sensitivity, feared your clarity. Because your presence is disruptive, not in chaos but in truth. You walk into a room and people feel it. The energy shifts, the masks start to slip, and the hidden begins to surface. You don't even need to speak. Your awareness is loud enough. The prophecy warned the Virgo will see with eyes unclouded. Their gaze will crack false idols. Their presence will purify the room. And that's what you do, just by being yourself. But when you were young, they told you to be quieter, simpler, more agreeable. They asked you to dull your edges, to doubt your own logic, to smile and play along, because the system can't function when someone starts pointing out the cracks. And Virgo, you were born seeing the cracks, so they made you feel like your gift was a problem, but it wasn't. You weren't too smart, you were precise. You weren't too sensitive, you were tuned in. You weren't too serious, you were focused on what mattered. They tried to mute your voice before it could activate others, because your truth is contagious, your honesty is catalytic, and your clarity is dangerous into systems built on lies. That's why they created noise, social distractions, pressure to conform, endless cycles of self-doubt. They needed you to question yourself so you wouldn't question them. And for a while, Maybe it worked. Maybe you did shrink. Maybe you did apologize. Maybe you stayed small to make others comfortable. But that time is over, because Virgo, the world is unraveling and your vision is needed more than ever. They tried to bury your voice, but your voice carries the frequency of the prophecy, and no system, no matter how powerful, can silence what's written in the soul. So ask yourself, why does your honesty make others squirm? Why does your presence expose what people try to hide? Why are you drawn to fix, organize, clarify? Because your soul was coded to bring order, not to control, but to heal. You were never meant to follow blindly. You were meant to see what others can't and speak what others won't. The scroll warned them, and now you're waking up, which means their control is breaking down. They know who you are, and now so do you. Virgo, something strange has been happening lately, hasn't it? You wake up in the middle of the night, always around 3:33 a.m. You see repeating numbers, ancient symbols, fragments of languages you've never studied, but somehow recognize. You feel this inner pull, like something is waking up inside you that doesn't fit into your normal life anymore. This is not random. This is not a phase. This is an activation. In 2025, Saturn, the keeper of karmic contracts, meets Mercury, your ruling planet, in a rare alignment that hasn't occurred since 1125. The exact year the Vatican scroll was sealed, they called it the Gate of the Archivist. And astrologers, mystics, even secret Vatican scholars believe that when this gate opens again, the Virgo soul encoded in the prophecy will begin to remember. Remember what? Not facts, not names, but truths. Truths you've always carried, but were told to forget. This is the year your divine memory returns. You may notice vivid, symbolic dreams of stars, temples, books, or floods, a sudden urge to declutter, cleanse, or prepare your space. An inner voice becoming louder, stronger, wiser, but it sounds like you. This is the prophecy unfolding. It's not coming from outside of you, it's coming through you, because the scroll never predicted an event, it predicted a soul, a Virgo soul, a soul that when awakened would begin to speak truth with surgical clarity, feel time bending, memories resurfacing, attract others who carry the same energetic frequency. Maybe that's already happening. Maybe people are randomly confessing things to you. Maybe you're sensing dishonesty without knowing why. Maybe you're hearing a call to lead, even if leadership scares you. That's the activation. And Virgo, it's happening now because you're ready. You've spent years doubting yourself, trying to make your perfection make sense in an imperfect world, trying to translate your order into a language of chaos. But now, that translation is no longer needed, because your soul doesn't need to fit in. It needs to lead. This awakening is not about becoming something new. It's about remembering what you've always been. The scroll predicted a Virgo who would awaken in the 3rd millennium, during a period of global imbalance, spiritual confusion, and systemic collapse. Sound familiar? This timeline, 2025, is not a coincidence. It is a trigger. A spiritual GPS coordinate waiting for your consciousness to arrive. And when you arrive, the world begins to realign. Because Virgo, when your energy comes online, clarity enters the chaos. Integrity returns to the conversation. Order begins to rebuild itself around you. You're not just remembering your soul, you're remembering your mission. The Vatican scrolls called you the Archivist, not because you keep records, but because you preserve divine order in a world that's forgotten it. And now, the gate is open. You'll start to notice synchronicities speeding up. You'll feel ancient, even when doing ordinary things. You'll look in the mirror and know something inside you has changed, because it has. And Virgo, you're not alone. Others are awakening too. Others who carry pieces of the same prophecy. And when you find each other, everything accelerates. Your voice will carry weight. Your intuition will become precise. Your presence will unlock others. Because your awakening is a signal to the world, to the system, to the souls who are still asleep. The gate of the Archivist is now open. And Virgo, you're walking through it. So, Virgo, what happens when you say yes to the prophecy? What happens when you stop shrinking, stop doubting, stop editing yourself for a world that was never built to understand you? Something ancient clicks into place. You don't just believe the scroll, you begin to live it. You start attracting others who carry the Virgo code, people who feel like mirrors, people who speak your language without saying a word. They've felt what you've felt, and suddenly, you're not the only one anymore. You begin to see patterns where others see problems. You notice timing, symbols, repeating cycles. You see the architecture of the universe, hidden behind chaos. And instead of being overwhelmed, you feel focused, centered, aligned. You stop feeling so alone, because you realize you never were alone. The prophecy was never about a single Virgo. It was about a return, a tribe of souls awakening at the same time, guided by the same call. And now you feel it in your chest, in your thoughts, in your dreams. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, even think differently, because now you're moving with purpose. When you say yes, your energy changes. Doubt becomes clarity. Anxiety becomes guidance. Sensitivity becomes intuition. Silence becomes power. This isn't ego. This isn't delusion. This is your original blueprint, finally online. You start remembering things you never studied. You say things you didn't plan. You meet people who were meant to find you at the exact right moment. Because the prophecy doesn't just awaken you, it awakens the grid, the ancient soul network hidden in this world. And when you say yes, that network lights up. You become the tuning fork for order, the stabilizer in stormy energy, the calm in someone else's chaos, and the more you trust it, the more it grows. This is not about being perfect. It's about being precise with your presence. It's about owning your role as a guardian of alignment, a keeper of sacred truth, a voice for what others can't yet say. And Virgo, when you say yes, life starts to respond differently. The right doors open, the wrong people fade, and time begins to move with you, not against you. Because this isn't just a prophecy, this is a soul contract, signed long before you were born. And now you're ready to fulfill it. This is your moment. And saying yes doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you're finally listening to the ones that have always lived inside you. So say it, feel it, claim it. Because Virgo, when you say yes, the universe whispers back, "We've been waiting for you." Virgo. The scroll never predicted a warrior. It didn't speak of weapons or conquest. It spoke of something far more enduring, the Archivist of purity. You weren't chosen to fight. You were chosen to remember, to protect what others forgot, to guard the blueprint of divine order. When the world was drowning in chaos, the prophecy named you the Archivist, not because you collect information, but because you carry truth in its purest form. Your mission, guard truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when others distort it for power or popularity. You feel the weight of truth, not as a weapon, but as a responsibility. Because truth in your hands is sacred. It's not meant to dominate, it's meant to liberate, heal without control. You don't force people to awaken, you create space for them to find themselves. You lead by presence, not pressure. You correct by clarity, not criticism. You hold a kind of healing that doesn't make noise. It makes alignment, rebuild with precision and compassion. You are the master of structure, the spiritual architect. When systems collapse, you instinctively begin sorting through the ruins, not just to rebuild, but to rebuild it right, with ethics, with grace, with higher intelligence. Because Virgo, You weren't born to copy what came before. You were born to restore what was erased. You see what the world could be, and you're here to bring it closer, not through force, but through function. Your mission isn't loud. It doesn't come with fame or applause, but it is vital. In every era of collapse, the Archivist is reborn. You're the quiet force behind the curtain, reweaving what was torn, cataloguing what matters, and protecting the sacred patterns encoded in time. And while others are chasing chaos, you are anchoring balance. While others are feeding ego, you are filtering wisdom. While others are burning it all down, you are building what will last, because you are the one who remembers. So the next time someone calls you too serious, smile. The next time they say you think too much, thank them. And the next time you feel out of place, remember you're not here to fit into the world as it is. You're here to restore the version that was almost forgotten. The scroll didn't call you a warrior, it called you a guardian, a keeper, a restorer of the divine. And now that the gate of the Archivist is open, your mission begins. This is not your burden. This is your birthright, Virgo. They tried to erase your origin. They rewrote history to bury your name. They built systems to distract you from your own soul. But the scroll survived, and so did you. You were never lost, just hidden, never broken, just asleep. And now you are awakening. You are the prophecy written in secret. You are the return they couldn't prevent. You are the soul they feared, because you remember what they want the world to forget. And now it's time to step forward. It's time to carry the scroll, not as a burden, but as a banner. To live your truth with quiet strength, to hold your clarity like a flame in the dark, because the prophecy isn't coming, it's here, and it speaks through you. Comment below. I carry the Vatican scroll. I awaken now. Like this video if your soul has always felt ancient, steady, and out of place in all the right ways. Subscribe for weekly decoded prophecies, soul activations, and Virgo revelations. Share this with a Virgo who needs to remember who they are and why they came.